What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the FF Ball Busters podcast. My name is Will, joining me is my co-host Eric, and today we're going to be talking about some underrated wide receivers in the 2024 draft class. Some people we probably haven't mentioned on this channel, some people we have maybe, but just people we feel like are undervalued or could raise up draft boards as the process goes along. But before we get into that, Eric, you got anything for the people?
Yeah, real quickly, just big shout out to you guys. Things have been booming over here. We've been growing very quickly, and that is all thanks to you. But we want to keep that momentum going. We just got to 700 subscribers recently, so thank you for helping us hit that milestone. But keep hitting that sub button, keep hitting the like button if you guys are enjoying the content, and also hit that notification bell to keep you guys in the loop, up to date with all of our latest videos. And make sure to comment down below as well, engage with us. Let us know what you think of these videos. If you guys have any ideas for upcoming videos, any disagreements, agreements with our lists that we're going to talk about today or any other day. So thank you for doing all that. And yeah, I think we can get right into it.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's YouTube. I know contentious lists can get. Keep in mind, these guys are not ranked in order of how we value them. We're just putting these names out there so you'll be on your radar, people to look out for, stuff like that. So while we get into that, Eric, who's the first person you got on your list?
So first guy that I have on here is somebody that I think I definitely overlooked, at least in our initial wide receiver rankings video, and that was a mistake. Looking back on it now, he probably deserves to be in that video, at least in the honorable mention, if not potentially at the back end of the top 10. But that's going to be Ladd McConkey out of Georgia. 6 foot, 185, elite level route runner and separator. He's a true space creator. And not just against man either. He's adept at finding empty pockets in zone coverage as well. Super shifty in the open field. I think he has really impressive stop-start ability and good long speed as well. Angelo FF on Twitter, who I would highly recommend you guys go follow, actually called him a faster Deontay Johnson, which one, I think is fitting, and two, like, thank you for somebody not comping him to another white guy. I've heard so many Cooper Kupps, Jordy Nelsons, Julian Edelmans, and like, sure, some of those comps might be kind of close, but like, I think Deontay is really fitting, so I like that a lot. In terms of production, he's only played 6 games this season because he's been dealing with a little bit of a back injury, but he's looked quite good when he has been out there, and him and Brock Bowers have really been the engine that drives this Georgia offense.
Yeah, being honest, like you said, he's someone that I feel like maybe we overlooked in our past videos. He's somebody that people are going to love, teams are going to love at the NFL level. Like you said, he's great at finding those pockets and all that, so I love that pick right there. Ladd McConkey should definitely be on draft radars for sure. The wide receiver I have on my list first, I have Jacob Cowing out of Arizona. Just so you can have a big game that he's had. He played against USC this year, and just for that stat line, 10 receptions, 88 yards, and 4 touchdowns in spite of a loss to USC. And before joining Arizona, you know, he played at UTEP. He had a total of 28 touchdowns in 42 career games. And so far this season, he's got 55 receptions for 440 yards and 8 touchdowns. So he's a slot receiver, but he's extremely good at finding the end zone. His frame isn't like huge. He's not a big guy. He's 5'11", 176. But at the end of the day, he's got quick feet. He's got really reliable hands. He's really good after the catch. He's got, I think 67% of his yards came from after the catch so far this year, so he's really good at making things happen after he gets the ball in his hands, and he's just a good go-to receiver. So I think despite him being underrated, he's going to end up being a pretty good wide receiver at the next level, especially if he gets that slot role, because he's already so good at it, and he's really effective in the end zone, in the red zone. So that's something I could see the NFL teams valuing in the future for sure.
No, absolutely. I love Jacob Cowing. He was a guy that was on my underrated list in our top 10 wide receivers video. Also, if you guys haven't seen that, highly recommend you go check that out so you have an idea of who we have ranked above these guys, and you know, some of the other honorable mentions that may or may not be talked about in this video. But love Jacob Cowing. That's a great pick. Speaking of little overlap, some guys from the honorable mention, somebody that was on your list from the video, Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky, 5'10", 210 pounds, and a yak monster. Mm-hmm. This guy is ridiculous in the open field. I think it's probably unfair to comp him to somebody like Debo or DJ Moore. But if y'all remember like early career Jamison Crowder, imagine him, but 210 pounds. Like that's kind of how I view Malachi Corley. Super shifty, bulked up dude. I will say he doesn't have the same kind of route diversity as Crowder did early on in his career. He's mainly running screens and deep routes, not a ton of intermediate work, but incredibly productive at Western Kentucky so far. 59 receptions, 735 yards, and 9 touchdowns so far in the season. He's been balling this year.
Absolutely, and he's got production to go along with it in the past too. Like last year, he also balled out as well. So absolutely been the picture of consistency over there for Kentucky too. So I love Malachi Corley in that spot. For the next receiver I've got on my list, I'm going with Jwan Newton out of Toledo. So he's an underrated wide receiver for sure. Toledo ranks 110 in pass attempts, so it's very difficult for a wide receiver to stand out at that school because they run the ball a lot. And they have the third best rushing offense in college football. But he somehow still scored 9 touchdowns this year at the wide receiver position. Yeah. With effectively, the real statistic that he has 9 touchdowns and only 25 receptions on the year, which is a remarkable rate. It's like every 3 catches there's a touchdown.
Wild.
Yeah. And while it's not going to be sustainable or necessarily going to translate to the NFL level, it is just something that's very impressive that shouldn't be overlooked at the very least. He stands at 5'11", 192, so he's sort of a smaller guy, but at the end of the day, he still does kind of excel as a blocker, and he has a really good contested catch rate of 45.5%, so he's 5 for 11 so far on the year. And on 38 targets, he's got 25 receptions, 349 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And he's only got 2 drops, I believe, when targeted. So he's been doing really well this year, at least working well within efficiency, within an offense that doesn't value the wide receiver position. He's still been able to kind of make splashes, which is something you'd like to see at the NFL level too. We've seen some teams with not so great passing games, but still have wide receivers who can still sustain high levels of, efficiency in those offenses. And hopefully that's something he can do at the next level too. Not saying he's going to be one of those guys, but at least he's showing that he is capable of working within unfavorable conditions at the very least.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely somebody I'll have to look into more. He's not a guy that I knew much about coming into this. So kind of the point of the whole video, just to put these guys on your radar, somebody that you know for late on in your rookie drafts. So I like that a lot. The next guy I have up here is going to be Tory Horton out of Colorado State. 6'2", 190. He's a vertical field stretcher with really good ball skills. All over his highlight tape is him just winning deep, beating guys vertically, contested catches in the end zone. Really exciting highlight tape if you guys are interested. CSU also loves to hit him on drags and dig routes, and he has good enough speed and yak ability to be effective in that area of the field as well. And he started off this season incredibly hot. With 45 receptions, 540 yards, and 6 touchdowns in his first 4 games. So he was just absolutely balling, putting up crazy stats. He's cooled off a little bit, but still producing at a fairly high level. And yeah, I think based on what he's best at, I think it translates well to the next level. And I think his frame, especially if he puts on a little bit more weight, will allow him to kind of be that true X wide receiver in an offense if given the opportunity.
Nah, I love that. I really do. I love that pick.
Appreciate that.
Hell yeah. Moving to the next player I got on my list, I've got Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. Trey Harris, he's sort of like, I feel like he's got an NFL ready, at least frame, in terms of his frame. He's 6'2", 204, so he's a good size, and he shows some versatility as a blocker at his position, which is great to see. He's been dealing with, sort of a knee injury, but he hasn't really missed a beat. In 5 games, he's got 17 receptions, 367 yards, 6 touchdowns, which is 21.6 yards per reception. Very impressive. And 5 of his first 8 receptions of the season resulted in touchdowns, which is, pretty impressive.
You got some TD merchants on your list, bro.
Dog, that's what I kind of was looking for. I wanted to see what was going on out here. And again, he had a very good game against LSU as well this year, too. I believe 8 catches, 153 yards, and a touchdown. So showing that he can make an impact in crucial matchups as well. You want to see his contested catch, sort of go up. It's not the best in the world. I think it's somewhere around like 20%, 25%. But he's really good at a lot of different things. And when it comes to, level of competition, it was good to see that he was producing when he was at, what school was he at first? Louisiana Tech. He was at Louisiana Tech, and he was doing well. And people were hoping that, he could perform against the next level when he transferred into the SEC. And he has. He's been doing really well, and I hope it translates over at the next level. But he's somebody I do want to put on radar, so I feel like he could end up raising up some draft boards at some point soon.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of his. He was somebody that I considered putting on my list as well. So Trey Harris, definitely somebody to look out for. The next guy I have up on here is going to be Malik Washington out of Virginia. A little bit on the smaller side, 5'8", 194. And, we're getting into not uncharted territory, but into the area where these guys, who knows what's going to happen at the next level. I am skeptical of how talented this kid is, considering he spent 4 years at Northwestern and did very little to start his career. But now in his 5th year of college ball, as a grad student at UVA, like, you can't deny the production that he's putting up right now. Through 10 games, 88 receptions, 1,200 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Yeah, it's crazy. He only has 2 games below 100 yards receiving, and in one of those he had 97. So, like, super consistent too. It's not, a few blow-up games here and there. He's also second highest. He has the second highest PFF wide receiver grade in all of college football, right behind Malik Neighbors. So, it's showing up on film and in the box score what he's doing this year. And they've played good teams too. Like, they've played Louisville, Miami, UNC, and he's stepped up in all of those games. So definitely somebody worth, acknowledging what he's producing right now. We'll see if that comes to fruition at the next level. But, we got to put some eyeballs on this kid.
Absolutely. I love the metrics there. Like you said, short kings stand up. Because I actually got another one on mine right here. I got Terrell Vau out of Utah State, which at his stature, he's 5'7", 175. So he's a really small guy. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he compensates for that with really good speed. He's got really quick feet, just really good qualities that are well suited for the next level. So far on the season, he's got 53 catches for 609 yards and 8 touchdowns, which is pretty good. He's primarily a slot receiver, with the size, and he's known for his reliable hands. He's only got 2 drops on 74 targets so far this season. And just to read out some stat lines that he's had so far: against Iowa, 12 receptions, 93 yards and a touchdown. Idaho State, 11 receptions, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns. Air Force, 6 receptions, 61 yards and a touchdown. James Madison, 10 for 124 and 2. Colorado State, 8 for 143 and 1. Fresno State, 7 for 119 and 1. So he's been putting up some great games this season. He's been very highly used in this offense, and he's been going up against some pretty good teams. So I think the potential there for at least him to be like a pretty dependable, like, possession slot wide receiver of the NFL is pretty high for him too. So I love Terrell Vau so far. And we're not done talking about Utah wide receivers. We'll be back over here soon.
I like it. I like it a lot. And don't underrate these undersized guys. We've seen it. We've seen what they can do in the NFL now that things are more spread out. We're more pass happy. There's a lot more zone defense being played, so there's less press man coverage. These short kings, these lighter guys can really make things happen in the NFL. Speaking of which, maybe not quite as small as who you just mentioned, but I got Isaiah Williams out of Illinois on my list here at 5'10", 185. He just moves different than anybody else that I saw in the field when looking at his tape. I don't want to do this to him because it's too much pressure on him and myself for this comp. But genuinely, like, when I watched him, the name that kept coming to mind was Tank Dell. Because when I watched Tank Dell at Houston, like, he really did move different. And I think that that's genuinely true because he was 20 pounds lighter than Isaiah Williams at 165. So he could make cuts that nobody else could make. But I really think that Isaiah Williams is similar in that facet where he's just like a human joystick out there making everybody miss, whether that be in the open field, in his yak ability, or in his route running where it seems like DBs just can't stay with him. It was really impressive to watch his tape this year. He's been very productive this season as well, going 68 for 893 and 5. And in his last 2 games alone, he's put up 22 receptions for 331 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he's on a big hot streak as of late.
What are they giving these wide receivers these days, bro? I feel like we've been getting so spoiled with just great wide receivers. Like, these are guys that, again, off the radar, but they've been performing at such high levels. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But with that being said, like I said earlier, we're moving back to Utah. We've got Jaylen Royals, the second Utah receiver on this list, also a standout big game performer. In 7 games so far, he has 39 receptions, 647 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He's 6 feet tall, 195, so he's got good speed with also a pretty good NFL frame, resembling an NFL, physique. And they've been really... Utah State has not been a very good team. You know what I'm saying? They're 3-4.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't really blame that on the offense too much. Defense has been really bad for them too. But just to read out some games for Jaylen as well. Iowa, not as much success there. 5 receptions for 39 yards. Idaho State, 3 receptions, 49 and a touchdown. Air Force, 4 receptions, 52 and a touchdown. James Madison, 7 for 57. UConn, 7 for 185 and 3 touchdowns. Colorado State, 6 for 140 and 2 touchdowns. Fresno State, 7 for 125 and 2 touchdowns. So,
oh my God,
to say that this duo has been, really good is sort of an understatement. They've been, really balling out, especially down the stretch. And if they continue this sort of productivity going down the stretch, they are definitely going to make some names for themselves. But, both of these wide receivers in Vaughn and Royals have exceeded 100 yards and found the end zone in the last 2 games. So, the ceiling is the sky for these guys as long as they keep going at this rate. So I'm liking these two a lot.
Yeah, those are some incredibly impressive stats that you just put out. And sorry for being a little distracted. My cat just jumped up on my desk, but it's all right. We move on. Was that the last receiver for you?
Yep, that was my number 5 right there.
Okay, so this will be the last guy on the list. Another guy that you actually had mentioned in your honorable mention for our wide receiver video is going to be Antoine Wells Jr. Out of South Carolina, 6'1", 208. Really, really strong and physical playmaker. You see him make use of that physicality in his routes to be able to create space and wall off DBs, and also in his run after the catch ability, where he's extremely difficult to bring down. Versatile in terms of where he can line up on the field. I think he lined up this past year like 60% out wide and 40% in the slot, so he can do both. And he's been successful in both of those areas as well. Pretty impressive ball skills, show up with highlight reel plays throughout his tape, and super productive in his first 2 years when he was at JMU initially. Played quite well last year at South Carolina as well as the clear number 1 in the offense. Unfortunately, this year he suffered a lower body injury during the preseason, and he's yet to play a full game this year. I think he's only appeared in 2 games, so not much in the box score. And also Xavier Legette has been there and has been balling out as well. So hopefully he gets back healthy, and those two can kind of be that dynamic duo for South Carolina at the end of the season. But either way, I've liked what I've seen from him throughout his first 3 years in college.
Absolutely, especially that sophomore year at JMU, followed up by that junior year at South Carolina. It's just like you said, he's got everything that you would really want. You just want to see him go out there on the field and play. So hopefully he gets healthy soon, and we can see a little bit more of him, like you said, and get a little bit more for the draft process as well. Because he's somebody this is such a good wide receiver class. It's crazy.
It's wild. You could say it's top heavy. You got generational Marvin Harrison Jr. You got Malik Neighbors getting Stephon Diggs comps. You could say, it's deep because, again, I would highly recommend you guys go watch our top 10 wide receiver video. It's just littered with crazy talent. And then even at the back end, you got these guys that could pop at the next level if given the opportunity. It's pretty crazy. How talented and how deep this class is.
Absolutely. We're just getting absolutely spoiled. I love it. But I'm interested to see how it changes the game going forward with this many good wide receivers, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And with that being said, we're moving over to sort of our honorable mentions. Just one person I want to name to get you guys on his radar as well. Will Shepard out of Vanderbilt. Just feel like he's had a pretty good season so far. So far this season, 36 receptions, 574 yards, 8 touchdowns. And he initiated the season with 3 consecutive 2-touchdown games against Hawaii, Alabama A&M, and Wake Forest. He's 6'3", 190, so he's got an NFL-ready physique. And in terms of, 65 targets, there's room for improvement. He's got 7 drops on the season so far, so, you want to see focus drops come down, and that is something that can be fixed at the next level. We've seen it time and time again. And he's not the best blocker, but he's still on track for another productive season at the wide receiver position, and he's not a sexy pick, but he has the potential to contribute at the NFL level. So just somebody to keep on your radar going forward is Will Shepard out of Vanderbilt.
No, I like that a lot. I don't know that I have anybody extra, but just in case people are wondering where some of the guys that weren't in our top 10 list were, Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, Johnny Wilson, all guys that didn't make our top 10 list, but probably belong in this conversation. They're just at bigger name schools, probably on national radars, so we didn't need to talk about them in depth here.
Exactly. So, with that being said, thank you guys for watching the video. Make sure you guys do all that great YouTube stuff. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. You've been doing a great job of it lately. 700 subscribers is nothing to shake a stick at. So thank you guys so much for all the support. Make sure you guys hit that like button too. It's absolutely free, and it's the best way to get our stuff out there into the YouTube stratosphere. And make sure you hit that comment section if there's anybody that we've left out, anybody you feel like maybe we're giving a little bit too much love. Like I said, there's a lot of people out here who are fans of these teams. So if you've seen the real picture, or you feel like you've seen the real picture of who some of these players are, sound off in the comments down below and let us know. But before we go, Eric, you got anything else for the people?
Yeah, just real quick, check the links in the description below. We have a link to our Discord if you want to have an even deeper conversation with us outside the comment section. We're starting to build a pretty cool community over there. Got a bunch of people that we talk with literally every single day, whether it be about Dynasty, prospect evals, whatever the case may be. So come join up over there, talk to us. That would be great. And then also links to our sponsors, whether it be Dynasty Owner or Do Numbers if you're interested in some cool apparel, hoodies, t-shirts, hats, all that good stuff. Get 15% off using our promo code in the description. Check that out. Support us, support our sponsors. We would appreciate it. But I think with that, we can probably wrap this thing up. If you stuck with us all the way till the end, as always, we love you, and we will catch you in the next video. Peace.
Peace. Hell yeah.